So Tonikawa Season 2, Fly Me to the Moon Season 2, whatever people like to call this one. I like to say it's the cutest AF show. Moves in such an odd direction. It's almost like the Benjamin Button approach of someone starting old and over the course of their life de-aging rather than aging up. This is kind of what these two lovable rascals get into. You pretty much start with marriage right away, and over the course of their relationship, they slowly, seemingly will get to a wedding, rather than starting as boyfriend, girlfriend, holding hands, kissing a little more. They do things at their own weird pace, and that's why we love watching them. I've been very excited. I had a blast covering the first season. There's a couple of OVAs. I believe episode 13 is what they called the first one. After season 1 ended, they dropped one. And then there was an episode 0 for season 2, both of which were rather good. If memory serves, I think the 13th episode was a little more raunchy, given that there was a moment, if I'm not mistaken, where Nasa was like taking off leggings or stockings or something, and it was all like flirtatious flusterness. I mean, it's heavily implied they do more than just hold hands and kiss, and I really hope there's not going to be a missed joke opportunity when ultimately they probably eventually do have a wedding. I mean, it's kind of implied that someday they might at the end of this episode. If they don't have a joke where, I mean, literally one of the friends is like just getting embarrassed by the indirect kiss when she passes the milk over. If they do end up having a wedding, if there's not a joke about how like, oh, you guys can finally do more than just hold hands, and they're like, oh, we did that long ago. Just imagine the flustered head explosions in the crowd. It would be comedy gold. But was this first episode everything I wanted? Absolutely. I think the way Tonikawa manages to be wholesome, if not slightly provocative, not in the way that it's like raunchy, but there's enough there that you can tell the chemistry is hot between them. They clearly are in love and just over the moon literally for one another. But the show just, it can literally just be them going to the movies and you're gonna have a smile on your face. And I had a blast watching. Now, I do have a full live reaction to this wonderful episode available on my Patreon, so if you do want to see my full uncut thoughts to this episode and all future episodes of this season, you can head on over there and consider supporting, as I've been excited for this one. I definitely think this was one of the star romances in the past few years, and I'm happy to report the season 2's here. I left season 1 saying it was the perfect ending. They literally didn't need to touch the show again, and I would have highly recommended this one for many years to come. But I think you don't have a lot of romance anime where the couple is already in a relationship and they continue to progress as a adult couple. Yes, they go about it in a kind of unorthodox fashion. I mean, not many shows start with more or less marriage and then over the course maybe get to a wedding and all these other things. But I love the fact that we're getting to see more and more of this relationship, and one of the things that really was surprising about the first season was not only that, but the side cast. There was a lot of characters and all of them were memorable in different ways, and I really like seeing just where they went over the first season. So season 2, I mean, I'm excited to see where they're going to go here, of course. The start of this episode was definitely the whole wedding talk. Now, as an engaged man myself, both my fiance and I, we have no interest of a wedding. Someday we're gonna go to a courthouse, we're gonna sign the papers, and we'll go on a vacation. We just think it's a waste of money. We don't need 200 guests coming and doing the whole shebang. So I kind of related to Tsukasa on a spiritual level this episode when she was just so not interested in it. And really, Nasa was the one more interested in it just because he wanted to see her in a wedding dress. Over the course of this episode, I'm thinking, my boy, if you want to see her in a wedding dress, rent a wedding dress, go get some photos done, have the whole thing, just go get a vacation. I mean, he started thinking it was like $1,000, maybe $2,000 for a wedding, not knowing just the absolute soul-crushing cost that most do end up costing a person. But I love the fact that, I think it was like less than 5 minutes prior to the whole wedding talk, they went to the movies, right? Because she's watching some weird Sharknado-like movie. Dude has a chainsaw, big waves in the city. She ain't having none of that. They end up going to a theater, and she brings up like, hey, should we be spending the extra money on these luxury seats? And he's like, don't worry, we don't go out to the theater too often. It's a nice little treat. And then less than 5 minutes later, he's actually considering using the amount that it would cost to buy a car or a down payment, hell, even a home in probably many places where they live. And was like, maybe we could have a wedding. And I'm like, my boy, please. There's so many better things to waste your money on, but hey, power to people who want it, of course, and clearly, maybe eventually they'll get to that point. But I love how the theme of this episode ends with them just being happy, being lovey-dovey, and they want that to last. Someday, sure, maybe we'll do it, but for now, let's just go to the movies, let's share ice cream, and let's have a wholesome marriage. And I'm like, yes, this show is just so sweet. Though I did get a kick out of, so it's after she takes her bath, he's basically chilling on one of the couches just waiting for her, and they're talking about marriage and weddings and all that type of stuff. The friend here just like starts being like, well, you don't know if you don't want it until you start. It just reminds me of all the times people will tell me, because I'm never gonna have kids, we're not gonna have a big wedding, and just be like, well, you don't know you won't like it until you have them or you attempt it. And it's like, okay, let me just enjoy my free time and money as you tell me these things that supposedly I need to have. That's kind of the impression it gave me, where it's like there's almost like society's like trying to tell them that no, you do need to have the big wedding, it's for the bride, they're gonna love it. And then Tsukasa's just chilling with her milk and her ice cream, be like, nah bro, I don't want that at all right now. And I'm like, I love this girl. She was always the star of the show to begin with, and especially given that there's like the supernatural mystery, is she like someone from back in the day? Does she just look like someone from back in the day? The opening shows her from different periods of time, or they're going on the wildest vacation from Wild West to feudal Japan, I don't know. But either way, there's a lot of mystery about who she is, but I love how the core theme has always been, it doesn't matter if she's 1,000 years old, doesn't matter if she's 20 years old, doesn't matter at all. All that matters is that they have a loving relationship in present day, and that's the most important thing. I mean, over the course of the story, they might touch upon that more, but as it stands, it's just a cute AF show, man, and I'm here for it. I love the opening. If memory serves, season 1 had a pretty killer opening, and this one was no exception. Both beautifully produced, a lot of intriguing imagery, but the song was pretty heat, I have to admit. And honestly, I just leave this episode with a grin on my face. I love talking about season 1. It was a feels-good show. Like, it just made you happy to see characters in a truly loving relationship in a different way than you expect. It's not like you're like, okay, are they eventually going to get into a relationship? And once they are, is the show going to end? Are we not going to see the extra? And this show is just like, hey, they had a weird promise back in the day. She shows up one day. Now they're apparently man and wife. Let's kiss the bride, I guess. It's just such a weird premise, but it just works so well because both of them are so weird. And I love how, like, it just feels like they have the perfect relationship right now. And I love how they even bring up the fact that, like, weddings can cause conflict, and she's like, well, I doubt you would ever really cause too much. You're too sweet to do that. And I'm like, okay, you're just pouring on the adorable sugar. You're giving me diabetes here. You gotta chill a bit. And like I say, they always allude that they do a lot more than kissing. I mean, it's never confirmed, mind you, but like, there's just moments that just feels like when the credits start playing, things continue to happen in the dark, if you know what I'm saying. YouTube doesn't like it if I'm too explicit with my details, but you get my point. But either way, fantastic first episode. I leave with a grin on my face and excitement to see where this second season's gonna go. I thought season 1 ended in a way I didn't need anymore, but if they were gonna make it, I'd watch it. And I'm glad to see that they decide to make that season 2. But thoughts and feelings yourself down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. Be sure to ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload on the channel. And of course, as I mentioned, we do have that full live reaction available on my Patreon, and while you're there, you can also get a video shout out. So today we have Darlis Denna, Dragon, and Fernando Lude. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.